on CTV3 News. Government task force on the move to mitigate price gouging. Over 50 tickets have been issued so far. Prime Minister John Briceño calls on all public leaders to declare their assets and other financials to the Integrity Commission. More than 300 Chromebooks distributed in Orange Walk, and Belize takes measures against Israel. These are some of the stories we have for you tonight in our newscast for Tuesday, November 14th, 2023.
Movies are dreams. That you never forget.
The lights change how everything looks. It's hard to find our house.
Ours is the dark house with no lights.
In this family, it's the scientists versus the artists. What kind of movie are we gonna make?
You stop making movies, it'll break your mother's heart. I don't know what to do anymore.
You do what your heart says you have to. What was your favorite part?
Centaur, your kind of company. With Express Plus, you can stream on the go or stream at home. Stream the latest movies, telenovelas, series, anime, or music videos from your favorite local artists. Sign up now with Centaur's Express Plus.
Good evening, with your news also simulcast on Fiesta FM 106.7. I am Joanna Rodriguez. For this entire week, stakeholders will be gathered in Belize City, where they will be learning more about the purpose of the Civil Asset Recovery and Unexplained Wealth Act, which became law in early August. The act empowers the Financial Intelligence Unit, FIU, to recover assets obtained through criminal means. While stakeholders learn more about the act and how it will be enforced, there are reports of past and present ministers, as well as other parliamentarians and leaders in local government who have failed to declare their assets and other financials. As prescribed by the law, Failure to comply with these laws would result in a $100 fee for every day the information is not filed. Prime Minister John Briseno today weighed in on this matter, calling on all public leaders to comply with the regulations to avoid these hefty fees.
I think that there should be no excuse for a minister or a member of the National Assembly not to be filing because they know. I think that also with the councillors, there tends to be a lot of confusion that some of them were not even aware that they're supposed to be filling these forms. Some of them claim that they have filled the forms and give it to the mayor of their time, and the mayor is supposed to have delivered it. I know there are at least 2 instances in Corozal that previously the mayor, they said, we filled it, CT, I've seen my copy, and it was never done. I think it is good that we name and shame so that our politicians, all even officers that are required to do their filing, know that they must be filed or else they are going to be named and shamed. But I know there is also some huge fees. Now that's another matter that will have to be looked because in many instances I don't think so. For instance, these these councillors, where are they going to get $100 a day? So we have to be practical about that. What we need to do now is that for present councillors, for them to understand and to know that they are also required to fill in their returns with the Integrity Commission. It is important, it's a part of governance, it's about part of transparency, and I'm trying as best as we can to fight against corruption in public life.
Back in March of this year, the Briseno administration made amendments to the Supplies Control Bill that now gives power to a government task force that falls under the umbrella of the Supplies Control Unit to issue tickets to businesses found guilty of committing price gouging. That task force has commenced its work, and reports show that between the month of September and October, out of 112 establishments visited across the country in both rural and urban areas, more than 50 violations have been addressed and cited. That number surpasses the infractions that were identified by the Supplies Control Unit between 2009 and 2022, when 14 matters were addressed.
From the start of September up to the 3rd of November, we have addressed a total of 59 violations in 2 months. Okay? So we are looking at us addressing 400% the amount of violations in 2 months than the unit dealt with from 2009 to 2022. Okay? Several reasons we were able to do that. First of all, the amendments that were made, expanding the range of goods that were subject to regulation, right? That gave us broader scope to intervene in the market on a greater range of goods. That's the first one. The second one is that the dealing with violations through a ticketing mechanism as opposed to the long drawn-out court process in every instance allowed for a greater degree of efficiency and allowed us to focus more of our time on inspections and actually visiting establishments as opposed to preparing paperwork, right? The third one has to do with the availability of resources. One of the major limitations we used to have is pretty much access to vehicles, access to diesel and things like that, because we need to be mobile. For those 2 months, basically we have been in a position where whatever we asked for, we got. All right. So because of those factors, we were able to increase our output 400% in 2 months over what we did from 2009 to 2022.
According to Lennox Nicholson, controller at the Price Control Unit, 3 core violations, all interrelated, are being committed.
There are the entities that are in violation who outright charge above what they have to charge. You go into the establishment, the item is on the shelf, it has the price, they give you the invoice, you do the calculation, they are in excess of the regulated markup. That's one matter. Then there is the other matter of those establishments who simply fail to put a price on the item. So you have people going into going to purchase at these establishments, asking for a product is taken off the shelf and given to them. There's no price on it. So essentially that consumer find out what he's being charged for that product when he goes into his pocket and take out money. That is unacceptable. In some ways, not disclosing to the price to the consumer is actually worse than actually marking the price on the item and charging him above. Right? So that's the second violation. The other core violation has to do with refusal or failure to provide the invoice that would allow us to make a determination whether the price is within the markup. All three of them, whichever one of them they are in.
Each ticket issued sustains a fine of $300. Failure to pay the fine could lead to court action, while repeated offenses possibly leading to a shutdown.
The whole purpose of instituting the mechanism to deal with violations through ticketing was to ensure that we could dispose of matters quickly, right? So instead of going into an establishment and finding a violation and having to go to 4 adjournments, right? In those times, that inspector is tied up. He can't go and do any additional work. So the entire point of the exercise, right, was to allow us to deal with things in an expeditious manner. Now, the question of going to court is in instances where the fines are not paid in the initial instance. After a period of time, that fine doubles from $300 to $600. And if there is continued non-payment, that is when we would institute formal court actions, in which instance, if they are actually convicted, that fine would be much heavier, right?
As mentioned, the task force has made its round across the country, and figures put San Pedro at the top of the list when it comes to issuance of tickets.
Non-compliance on the island of San Pedro was practically universal. We issued violation tickets to each and every establishment that we visited on that place. Everybody that we visited. Okay.
How many were
Some
those?
areas of Belize City. Well, in the initial visit that we did, we were looking at 11. We went out there one day and we stopped in at 11 establishments and everybody got tickets, right? Some areas of Belize City, and that's why I redirected you away from Brody's and Sancas to point you to where some of the real problems are. Some areas we visited like 14 and non-compliance was like 71%. Kikaka, 75% non-compliance. You see? So there is serious work that needs to be done on a wide range of products. And when you asked when...
Currently, the task force is formed by 5 officers. The intention is to employ 6 more, and discussions are already underway to have members of the Public Service Union assist the task force in the fight against price gouging. While the PSU has already identified its members that will be joining the task force, they now await training from the Ministry of Enterprise. It made headlines for weeks when back in October of last year, the Financial Intelligence Unit confiscated over $3 million from Caribbean International Brewery Limited. This came following a police raid at the company's Carmelita Village compound in October 2022, where the cash was seized under a warrant. Following that entire ordeal, in October of this year, CIB Limited won a claim filed against the government, where the High Court ruled that proper procedures were not followed and that the money should have been returned within 72 hours. While the judgment is a symbolic victory, as the funds were already returned, Caribbean International Brewery has indicated through its attorney plans to sue the government for damages, citing operational contraction and reputational damage due to the wrongful detention of the money. Earlier this week, both FIU Director Lenny Sigiri McGann and Police Commissioner Chester Williams reacted to the judgment.
That case was an application to detain the cash, and what happened was that the FIU returned back to court having obtained an initial amount of time to detain the cash to pursue its investigation. So we were not at the stage as yet where we were asking the court to forfeit the cash. We were still asking the court for additional time to pursue our investigation. Of course, for us, it was important to keep the cash detained to ensure that there wasn't the flight of that asset, because cash is fungible, and so that as our investigation matures, we could have either pursued two options: to bring criminal proceedings or to actually bring a civil cash forfeiture proceedings. So there is, prior to the Civil Asset Recovery Act, provisions for the forfeiture of cash, but only cash. So this legislation actually expands that the ability to forfeit assets in a civil manner, meaning without a criminal conviction, to other types of assets. So in that case, we still continue our investigation. However, we do not have the benefit of having that cash on available.
As we go along, we do learn. I always believe that in every bad event, there is always a silver line. And so we just need to search for the silver line and make sure that in the future events, should there be any, that all those procedures that the court highlighted went wrong, that we will be able to ensure that we don't have reoccurrence of those.
Belize today joined many countries around the world taking actions against Israel. In a release issued by GOB today, it cites the most recent actions of the Israeli Defense Force IDF against Gaza, which has killed more than 11,000 innocent civilians, mostly women and children. The bombing has destroyed many buildings and infrastructure, including hospitals, schools, and other infrastructure. The release adds, and we quote, "The government of Belize has repeatedly condemned the actions of the IDF in Gaza. We have appealed to Israel to implement an immediate ceasefire and to allow unimpeded access of humanitarian supplies into Gaza. Despite our requests, Israel has not stopped its violations of international humanitarian law, nor allowed relief workers to alleviate the suffering of millions of Gazans," end of quote. Based on these events, the government, with the approval of the cabinet and other PUP members of the House of Representatives, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Trade and Immigration, has implemented various measures which are to take immediate effect. Firstly, the government of Belize is withdrawing its agreement for the accreditation of His Excellency Init Kranzniger, Israel's ambassador designate to Belize. Secondly, all activities conducted by the Israeli Honorary Consulate in Belize and the appointment of the Honorary Consul are suspended. GOB is also suspending all activities of Belize's Honorary Consulate in Tel Aviv, Israel, and withdrawing the appointment of its Honorary Consul. And lastly, the government has decided to withdraw its request for accreditation of Jonathan Enav as Belize's Honorary Consul. Belize's Foreign Minister, Honorable Eamon Courtney, today spoke on GOB's most recent decision. The decision, according to Minister Courtney, was taken since the situation in Gaza is the biggest humanitarian crisis seen in a very long time.
Well, first of all, I think it's important to stress that the primary concern of the government of Belize at the moment is for the people of Gaza, for the millions of people who have been subjected to unceasing and unrelenting bombing, for the people who have been denied food, who have been denied fuel, who have been denied medical supplies. We are concerned about the more than 11,000 people who have died and who have been killed, the majority being women and children. It is a humanitarian catastrophe that we have not seen for quite a long time, and certainly not since our government has been in office. And so, moving from a humanitarian point of view, we decided that this is an issue that has to be addressed in the most forthright and the most diplomatic way. Secondly, our assessment of what has taken place since the 7th of October in Gaza shows us very clearly that there have been gross violations of international law, gross violations of international humanitarian law, and human rights abuses, all perpetrated by the Israeli Defense Forces under instructions of the government of Israel. It is important for the government of Belize, a country that values international law. We have our existence due to the right to self-determination. We believe very strongly in the United Nations Charter. We believe that disputes must be settled according to international law, peacefully. We believe that when there is war, when there is civil strife, that the rules of law must be observed, that humanitarian law must be observed, and we see gross violations of that by Israel. We have written to the government of Israel. I have spoken to the ambassador who was designated to be the ambassador to Belize. We have sent several tweets, and we have not seen any intention by Israel to have an immediate cessation of hostilities, a ceasefire. We have seen no satisfactory efforts by Israel to relent in its ceaseless bombing. We have seen absolutely no effort by Israel to allow adequate amounts of humanitarian supplies to go into Gaza so that there can be relief to the people of Gaza. In the circumstances, we find it very difficult to remain quiet. And therefore, yesterday at the Cabinet and Parliamentary Group meeting on House members, this matter was considered fully, and the decision was taken for us to take the steps that have been set out in the release that was issued.
Coming up next, we take you to 4 schools in Orange Walk, where Prime Minister John Briceño distributes Chromebooks to the student population. Stay tuned.
Singing around the world, dancing with every song, and experienced in one place only. The Latin Grammys are coming to TNT.
Mi gente de México, mi gente de Argentina, de Sudamérica, de Centroamérica.
The music award that makes the world dance. With live shows by your favorite artists.
Gracias a la academia. Muchas gracias.
Los quiero, muchísimas gracias.
The Latin Grammys, Thursday, November 16th. We move with the music on TNT.
Centaur, your kind of company.
Sign up for Smart Share Plan and save big. Whether you're a small entrepreneur starting up your business, a student on a limited budget, or a family trying to save, this is the plan for you. With unlimited SMS, calls, and data, we help you save. Get up to 5 lines for as low as $30 per line monthly, only with Smart. Sign up today at any Smart showroom or sales manager countrywide. So get your business going, share more memories with friends, and be ready for the day with Smart.
This morning, the Ministry of Education, Culture, Science and Technology, along with area representative for Orange Walk Central, Prime Minister John Briceño was in Orange Walk where 336 Chromebooks were distributed to 4 schools. These devices are part of a donation from the Republic of China, Taiwan earlier this year, following the state visit to our country by Taiwanese President Dr. Tsai Ing-wen. Primary and secondary schools countrywide are benefiting from this donation, for which 15% of the student population, standard 4th to 4th form of the selected schools, are the recipients. The first stop this morning was La Inmaculada RC School, where 49 devices were handed over. This donation, according to CEO in the Ministry of Education, Diane Mejia, is in tandem with ongoing programs by the ministry to bridge the digital divide for students across the country.
We're here now because the PM and the Cabinet agreed that these devices are to go to the school children of this country. So we had a task at the Ministry of Education. We had to try to figure out, our minister said, well, let's see how we can get these devices to as many students as possible. So we decided we would share them across the country with as many schools as possible. And we used the magic percentage of 15%, right? So with primary schools like you all, 15% of your population, 1/5 of the population of standard 4, 5, and 6 will receive devices. With high schools, we use 15% of the entire population, right? And our cabinet had made a commitment that we would give devices to students from standard 4 to 4th form. And so this is the government of Belize delivering on its promise to you guys.
Bishop Martin High School was also among the recipients this morning, receiving a total of 61 Chromebooks, which represents 15% of the school's student body population.
Belize is a wonderful piece of this earth. And one of the greatest blessings that we have is the blessings of friendship. And I'm not just talking about the friendships that we have from the people who are close to us. I'm also talking about diplomatic ties. A few months ago, when the president from the Republic of China, Taiwan, came to Belize, she didn't just meet with PM. She learned more about our country and made a promise to our people that the people of Taiwan would help our country with devices, helping us to bridge our digital divide. And she was true to her promise, and they delivered 5,000 devices to our country. What we're here to bring for you today is 15% of the population of your school will be able to get devices from this donation from the Republic of China, Taiwan. It's 61 devices that you're getting today. And these devices are for you, the students.
As a government, Prime Minister John Briceño says education forms an important pillar towards the development of our country. Thus, investing in students is always the right way to go.
Education is the center or the foundation of Plan Belize. That we believe that for us to be able to develop this country, we have to invest in our young people. And so we have been investing in schools and school buildings, providing more scholarship, expanding the free education program, which will now be coming out to Orange Walk in this coming new fiscal school year. But also it's important for us to be able to provide the devices. Our students have to be connected to the internet. They have to be able to have access to the internet, to be able to get information, to be able to learn, to make education more exciting. And so when we met with the president of Taiwan, of the Republic of China and Taiwan, and we're talking about the many issues that we have, and when she was here, she was excited of meeting the young people and said, we are going to provide 5,000 of these devices. So she has been true to her word. She sent them. The Ministry of Education has been sharing them out as best as we possibly can. And we're trying, with our principle in helping those that need the most help. That's the very same process that we're following to ensure that When we give them to the schools, we ask the principal and their staff to ensure that we can give it to the children or to the young people that do not have. And so that's what we're doing. It's very exciting to me. This is one of the most heartwarming part of my job. That when I interact with young people, when I can talk to them, when I can hear them and their excitement about the future. And so we believe that by being here and personally present them, I think they can go a long way.
The distribution of these 5,000 Chromebooks, according to the PM, also falls in line with government's commitment to ensure free education for every student from preschool to sixth form.
This is an important aspect of the free education program, because with the free education program, we're saying that the government, that if there's a child or a young student that cannot go to high school for economic reasons, then the government needs to step in to help. We help them with their books, their fees, their tuition. We even give them uniform in some instances, and food, and of course their books. So we ensure that there's absolutely no reason why that young Belizean boy or girl is not in school, and that is what we're doing with the free education program. And this augments, that strengthens that free education program that we're doing, as what the Minister Fonseca is always saying. We have to ensure that our children are connected to the internet. You know, that what they call the digital divide. We need to close that divide, and this is one step towards closing that digital divide in Belize.
Ensuring that more of their students are able to have access to a digital device, according to principal of Bishop Martin High School, helps to bridge the gap created by technology in the classroom.
In this age when we keep pushing for technology, for our students to become technologically savvy, the acquisition of the devices is crucial. It's paramount that every single student has a device to work with. And we have pushed for our students to be using the devices, laptops, Chromebooks, tablets. We keep using it in our classrooms on a daily basis. The reality is, though, is that some families are hard pressed to have an adequate device. So sometimes the tablet that they have is they can't do certain things with it. So with these Chromebooks, these will definitely help, and we are going to identify those students who are most in need, who will benefit from it, so that they are not disadvantaged in their education, because technology is the way to go in education and in the workplace. So we're preparing these students for the future. So we are very grateful for this donation.
Students from Marfels College High School received a total of 98 devices, while Orange Walk Technical High School were handed over a total of 128 laptops, each representing 15% of the total student body population. At the top of the newscast, we told you how the government task force in charge of tackling price gouging and other violations have already addressed some 50 violations committed by business after visiting several stores across the country in both urban and rural communities. Now, while the recent amendment to the Supplies and Controls Act gives way for the task force to publish the names of the violators, Controller of Supplies Lennox Nicholson says the unit will work on certain areas of the system before divulging names to the public. In the meanwhile, consumers are asked to continue assisting the unit by reporting their concerns, which has led to the issuance of tickets.
Normal course of things. So, for instance, a truck that sells LPG and then goes from village to village, they don't operate from a fixed location, right? And some of the information and the material that is being provided to us points us in a direction that there is some matters that need to be addressed there. And consumers are actually kind enough to provide us with invoices and receipts. In addition to that, one of the product classes where we have had some input from consumers has to do with feminine hygiene products. All right. You will recall that government took a policy decision to remove all duties and taxes from those products with a view to bringing relief to the consumer. They did not remove those duties and taxes so that any particular segment of the distributive group or the business sector can reap a windfall, right? So those products, I can tell you that we finished our first round of inspections. And in our second round of inspections, we will be paying some very, very keen attention to some of those particular products in that particular class, because we have a responsibility to ensure that the intended benefits from that decision to remove duties and taxes from those products go to the actual consumers, right? So
the Social Security Board SSB today announced its intention to lend premium spirits and liquors, a new company here in the North registered back in 2015, $9 million at a rate of 7.35% interest. The loan facility is for 12 years with 2 years principal moratorium. The purpose is to build a new distillery and purchase equipment as well as start up capital for exportation. As usual, the notice is raising eyebrows and has even drawn objection from the opposition. So, to do some damage control, today the Chief Executive Officer of the SSB outlined the loan proposal for the media.
Right now, we have a lot of money to invest. If Leo correct me, but we have over 130 million that we need to put to work. And I mean put to work, not sitting at the bank earning 2% or 1%. That will put us nowhere and put us in jeopardy in terms of meeting our obligations for the long term. All right, Social Security is talking long term down the road. 10, 15 years from now, we need to have that money working now so that when more persons are retiring, that we can afford to pay the pensions. So in terms of proposals that we did receive earlier this year, I think it was around March 9th, that we received from Belize Premium Service Spirits and Liquors, a request. And their initial request was not considered. It was felt that they needed to make some variation to their proposal. So we have been back and forth with them over this past year. And finally, it passed through the investment committee for the sum of $9 million. As the notice has indicated, now we're looking at financing the construction of a distillery, equipment, and some minor working capital with 2 years moratorium on the principal. It's for 12 years initially, and then we are having an interest rate of 7.35% on the total interest income that Social Security will earn, is over $5 million over the period.
With collateral cover, the company is expected to create over 100 new jobs.
We have acres of land that the company has put up. We have put up different personal guarantees. In addition, he is putting in his own money because, as I had mentioned, he had made an initial request for a larger sum. So that variance he has to put up, and so we're only putting this here in terms of the distillery and work equipment, and of course working capital to get started for the distillery. But he has put up more than adequate collateral to cover more than the 9 million. Right. So if I recall, it's over 752 acres of land, in addition to the personal assets and guarantees that he have provided.
Our coverage is 1.3 to the loan. In this case, it's about 16 million is covering a $9 million loan request that's going to be spread over in tranches. It's not a one-off $9 million outflow. It's, remember, he's constructing the distillery over a period of months. So that is really how it is. But there is sufficient collateral. As I was saying, this is not. He didn't just jump up overnight and decide to buy. He has put a lot of his money. So there's a lot of invested money and capital in this project.
The principal owners of the company are Walter and Irlanda Cuello. As some may know, Walter Cuello has a vast knowledge of the rum industry and is part of a well-known third-generation rum-producing family. Comments on the proposed loan will be taken by the SSB Chief Executive Officer via email address info@socialsecurity.org.bz for 10 business days, Monday to Friday, from the date of first publication of the notice. And to finalize tonight's newscast, we inform you that Prime Minister John Bresenio departed the country today to attend the first CARICOM Saudi Arabia Summit in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The Prime Minister returns to Belize on November 19, 2023. During his absence, Honorable Cordell Hyde, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Natural Resources, Petroleum and Mining, will hold over as Prime Minister. And that's the news. We invite you to join us for another newscast on Wednesday, November 15th here on CTV3 and Fiesta FM 106.7. Remember that to read a text version of the news, you can visit our website at ctv3belizenews.com. You can also log on to our Facebook page for current stories at facebook.com/ctv3belizenews or our YouTube channel at CTV3 News BZ. Remember to wash your hands. Thank you for watching and listening. Good night.